Chapter 5. Nancy quickly stripped down to her bikini and plunged into the surf. She gasped when the cold spray hit her sun-warmed skin. Battling against the current, she plunged through the water, bruising her feet on unseen rocks. DJ was being washed farther out to sea. He was now about 20 yards away. As the water rose to her thighs, Nancy felt the pull of the riptide grow stronger. Suddenly, the bottom dropped away. She leaped forward and began to swim with fast, powerful strokes. Kicking hard, she closed the gap between them. 15 yards. 10. DJ was gasping for air, fighting to keep his head above water. Air pockets had formed inside his waders around his ankles, forcing his feet to the surface. At the same time, the weight of the water in his waders around his waist and chest was dragging the rest of his body under. At last she reached DJ. As she wrapped him in a life-saving hold, she felt her feet touch sand. Amazingly, the water only came up to her neck. They must be on a sandbar, she realized. "You can touch bottom, DJ," she shouted. "Try to get your feet under you." He tried, but couldn't. One wave after another broke on them, knocking them around and burying them in white foam. Knowing she had to do something before they were swept into deeper water, Nancy firmly dug her toes into the sand. Struggling desperately to keep DJ's head above water, she grabbed the straps of his waders and pushed them down off his shoulders. Then she began to peel the heavy material down his chest. DJ tried to help, but his feet kept bobbing to the surface. Nancy grabbed one boot, and DJ panicked. "I have to get the air out," she yelled. DJ fell backward and his head went under for a moment. Nancy held tight to his thrashing foot. "Don't kick! Let me help you!" She held onto it with both hands, squeezing tightly as she worked the air bubble up his leg. DJ realized what she was doing and tried to keep his other leg still. When she finished with that leg, she started working the other one, pushing the air pockets out. Then she took a deep breath and dove, dragging his feet down to the sandbar. As she forced DJ into an upright position, more bubbles worked their way free. She surfaced and heard him shouting, "Over here! Hurry!" Nancy turned to see a small fishing boat headed for them at top speed. It slowed when it reached them, giving Nancy the chance to take hold of the low gunwale to steady the boat against the breaking waves. Two men reached down and grabbed DJ's arms. "Go around to the other side to help balance us," one of the men told Nancy. She swam to the far side of the boat and held on to the edge. A third man leaned over on the same side, adding his weight to hers. The two men reaching for DJ paused a second, waiting for the next wave to help lift him. Timing it, they shouted, 1, 2, 3, heave! Nancy pulled down on the boat with all her strength. The hull rose up, lifting her almost clear of the water. DJ was dragged over the side. The men grabbed his legs and flipped him into the bottom of the boat. The little vessel righted itself. "Now you, young lady." The third man grasped her under the arms and easily lifted her aboard. Nancy sank down onto a cushioned seat, her breath coming in fast gasps. One of the men handed her a towel. "That was good work, miss. He owes his life to you." "And to you, too," Nancy said, wiping salt water off her face. "We sure were glad to see you coming." "He wouldn't have lasted till we got here if you hadn't helped. I saw a man drown in the same kind of accident. Once those waders are full of water, it's like wearing a concrete suit." "Hey, fella," one of the other men poked DJ. "Aren't you going to say thank you to this lady?" DJ sat in the bottom of the boat next to a bucket of bait. His head was in his hands, the waders still binding his legs. Now he glanced up at Nancy and muttered, "Thanks." "Guess he needs a little time to recover," one of the men said as he put the boat in gear and started back to the beach. DJ was embarrassed. "Sorry." He began to work his feet free of the waders. "Thanks, all of you." "No problem, buddy." The man beside him slapped him on the back. "How did you know we needed help?" Nancy asked. "Someone spotted you from the lighthouse and radioed us," the man said. "We were fishing around the point. Glad we made it in time." Nancy smiled gratefully. "So are we." When they reached shore, Nancy and DJ slowly walked back to the spot where DJ had left his things. Nancy could see DJ was exhausted, so she silently picked up some of his fishing gear and carried it to his pickup truck. She noticed a sticker on the windshield, authorizing him to drive on the beach. "You want a ride back?" DJ asked when everything was loaded. "Sure, let me pick up my clothes. I left my moped in the lot." Nancy pulled her t-shirt over her wet bathing suit and climbed into the front seat. She glanced at his haggard face as they drove down the beach. She hoped he'd be willing to talk to her soon, but now wasn't the time to question him about his best friend's murder. Well, he said as he pulled up next to her moped. I mean, thanks." Nancy got out and watched him drive away. She shook her head, a thin smile on her lips. Some people sure have a way with words, she thought. Hannah wanted to cancel their dinner reservation when Nancy told her about the rescue. "I'm fine, Hannah, and I've been looking forward to dinner at the Belle Buoy. They say it's the best place in town for shrimp scampi." Hannah shook her head, but she couldn't hide a small smile. As the sun began to dip over the west side of the island, they rode down the hill to the restaurant near the docks in Old Harbor. When the hostess showed them to their table in the busy restaurant, Nancy was pleased to find that Angie was their waitress. She looked especially pretty, dressed all in white with a blue Belle Buoy apron and a matching blue ribbon in her long dark hair. "Hi, Angie. I didn't know you were working tonight." Nancy took the menu Angie handed her. "I wasn't supposed to, but one of the girls is sick," Angie said. "They called me because they know I'm always happy to make the extra money." "Hannah," Nancy said, "this is Barb Summers' roommate, Angelina Cassetti." "Hello," Hannah said. "Nancy has told me about you." Angie smiled, then turned back to Nancy. "I heard about you rescuing DJ today. He told Barb you saved his life." "How is Barb?" Nancy asked, anxious to change the subject. She hated to worry Hannah, and hadn't yet told her that she was investigating the murder. "Barb is, well, not so good," Angie said. "On top of everything else, they've discovered that one of the burying beetle nests was destroyed when that grave was dug. It's a real disaster because there are so few of them to begin with." "That's a shame," Nancy said. Angie saw someone signaling her at another table. "I've got to go. Do you like swordfish? It's very fresh tonight, just off the boat." She hurried away. "Swordfish sounds good," Hannah said. After they finished consulting their menus, Nancy asked Hannah about Sarah. "She's managing, but it's difficult," Hannah said. "I stopped by Crazy for Crafts this afternoon. Thank goodness the shop keeps her busy, but she's still upset. With the body being held for the autopsy, she doesn't know when she can have a funeral." Just then, Angie returned to take their orders. "Hannah will have the swordfish," Nancy said, "and I'll try the scampi." Angie wrote it down, collected their menus, and said, "Gosh, Nancy, I'm so glad you're looking into this murder. Poor Barb has been hit with one thing after another. The murder, the beetles, now DJ almost drowning. It helps her to know that you're going to find out who killed Tom." She sighed and left. Hannah frowned at Nancy. "You didn't mention you were checking into this murder." Nancy blushed slightly and said, "I was going to tell you. I just didn't want you to worry." "And why shouldn't I worry?" Hannah said. "You go risking your life tracking down criminals." "There really isn't any danger, Hannah," Nancy assured her. "I'm only asking a few questions because Barb really wants me to help out. She's sure DJ is innocent. It's important to everyone, especially Sarah, that we find out the truth." Hannah sighed. Poor Sarah. Not knowing is so hard on her. "All right, Nancy, I see your point. Only promise me you'll be careful." "I promise," Nancy said. Nancy changed the subject while they ate, concentrating on their plans for when George and Bess arrived. They finished up by ordering 2 slices of double fudge cake. Angie was serving them their desserts when she stopped and gasped out loud. Nancy turned to see what she was staring at. Walt and Scott Winchester were following the hostess to one of Angie's tables. After the Winchesters were seated, Angie turned away from Nancy and Hannah, stopping the hostess as she passed by. "I can't serve that party," Angie said, sounding desperate. "Please put them somewhere else." "That's the only free table, and they've been waiting for 20 minutes, the hostess said. Angie's face was white with tension. "You don't understand. I absolutely can't serve them." The hostess's eyes hardened. "Sorry, but you've got to." Angie stood still, her lips quivering. Without warning, she untied her apron, dropped it to the floor, and ran out of the restaurant.